Hello family, welcome back. I'm so happy you're here today because this episode might shift the way you see yourself, money, abundance, and the reality you're creating. Maybe this podcast found you at exactly the right moment. So wherever you are right now, open your mind. And let's begin this journey together. Everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy, this is physics. That's what Albert Einstein supposedly said. Everything is energy, everything moves, everything vibrates, nothing is standing still, and money is no exception. Money itself is simply an idea, a frequency, an energetic pattern that we can either tune into or remain disconnected from. One of the biggest problems in our society is that people associate money with worthiness, with merit, with deserving. But money has nothing to do with deserving. Money is energy. You either learn how to align with that energy or you don't. And today we're going to talk about that. People often ask, why do some bad people seem to get everything they want while so many good people struggle just to survive? Have you ever asked yourself that? The answer is simpler than most people think. Having money has absolutely nothing to do with being a good person or a bad person. There are wonderful people with money who use it to help others. And there are amazing people struggling financially. At the same time, there are selfish people with enormous wealth and power. And there are selfish people with absolutely nothing. That's a reality. That's the world we live in. There are people working 15 hours a day and barely surviving, while others spend the day sitting on a couch and somehow their bank account keeps growing. What kind of paradox is that? Some people were born wealthy and eventually lost everything. Others were born with nothing, no resources, no connections, no knowledge about money, and became incredibly successful. This is reality, so having money or not having money comes down to one thing: your ability to tune into that specific energy. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone born into a wealthy family. People assume they inherited money, but many times they inherited something much more valuable: a consciousness of abundance, a perception of prosperity, a belief system. Because if wealth is passed down without the mindset behind it, financial self-destruction often follows. You've seen this happen. People win the lottery, receive inheritances, build fortunes, and somehow lose everything because money itself is not enough. And this might sound too simple, maybe even too obvious, but money only responds to one thing: its own frequency. It is a specific energy with a specific vibration, and you can learn to tune into it. Prosperity is a choice. Abundance is a choice. Material wealth is a choice, regardless of whether you had access to education, regardless of where you came from, regardless of how hard you work. Today, you can learn how to connect with this energy. Now, I already know what some people are thinking. So you're saying if I watch this episode, I'll suddenly align with the frequency of money and all my financial problems disappear? No, and there's a reason. Aligning with a new frequency is actually the easy part. Maintaining it, that's where things become difficult, because sustaining a frequency over time is what truly changes your life. And that applies to everything. Everyone listening right now can understand these ideas. Everyone can feel inspired. Everyone can experience a moment of alignment, but very few will stay consistent enough to remain there. That's what we see every day. And I hope that won't be your story, because the moment you begin entering a new frequency of prosperity, your paradigm begins fighting back. Your entire belief system begins pulling you toward what feels familiar, back toward old patterns, back toward your comfort zone, back toward the identity you've always known. That is self-sabotage. You connect with a higher possibility, and suddenly your mind starts whispering, "This doesn't work. Who do you think you are? This isn't realistic. Go back." So here's the first thing you need to understand today: your paradigm, your belief system, what you deeply believe about yourself and reality, because this paradigm started forming long before you were even born. Your father had his beliefs. Your mother had hers. And much of this mental structure was passed down to you through patterns, through experiences, through conditioning, even through your own biology and genetics. And most people spend their entire lives living inside a program they never consciously chose. And here's something most people never realize. You were born with a predisposition toward a certain paradigm, a specific set of beliefs, a specific way of seeing life. Even while you were still inside your mother's womb, everything your parents felt, everything they believed, everything they feared, everything they said about money, life, success, struggle, and survival was already shaping you. Those emotional patterns and perceptions were being introduced into your structure, into your being. Then you were born, and you grew up hearing your parents' beliefs, your grandparents' beliefs, your uncles, your siblings, your family. And where did all of those ideas go? Into your subconscious mind, that hidden part of your mind you normally don't have direct access to. Then came your teachers. Yes, because teachers pass on beliefs too. Then classmates, friends, religious environments, communities, co-workers, television, the media, and now social media. Today there is a constant bombardment of beliefs hitting you every single day. Thousands of messages, thousands of opinions, thousands of voices telling you who you should be, what success looks like, how much money matters, what is possible, and what isn't. Think about it. How many hours a day do you spend looking at your phone? Because every moment you consume content, you are also consuming beliefs and all of this information you've absorbed throughout your life, throughout your formation, throughout the construction of your mind, was stored deep within your subconscious. And this is where the real issue begins. Because this entire belief system is what we call your paradigm, your programming. And the problem is, it operates from a hidden place inside you. Imagine this. If your paradigm was programmed around scarcity, if you were conditioned to feel lack, fear, not enoughness, then even if you learn how to tune into the frequency of prosperity, you won't stay there for long. Because if you don't work on changing the underlying program, if you don't clear your mental field, your mind pulls you right back to where it feels safe. Back to the starting point. And this isn't just true for money. This happens with everything. Relationships, health, success, confidence. Because your paradigm is simply your mental programming. It's the way you were conditioned. And that's why I believe so deeply in mental reprogramming. Because positive thinking alone isn't enough. Motivational quotes aren't enough. Coaching alone isn't enough. Self-help alone isn't enough. Because if you don't identify and remove limiting beliefs and replace them with expansive beliefs that support growth, you remain trapped inside the same internal system. You have to change the paradigm. You have to reprogram the mind. And here's the incredible part. To begin reprogramming your belief system, you already have everything you need. You were born with the tools. They came factory installed because every problem begins in the mind, and every solution begins there too. Everything is mind. Everything starts within. The universe itself is mental. And if you learn how to use what I call your unique mental tools, the abilities that already exist inside you, you become capable of consciously reprogramming your mind, changing your limiting beliefs around money, creating a new internal identity, and learning how to align with the energy of prosperity. That's how this works. And at the end of this episode, I'm going to teach you a technique that can help you begin tuning into that frequency. These tools were introduced by author Bob Proctor, and they are incredibly valuable if you want to learn how to truly master your mind. Because yes, this is possible. If your mind was programmed, whether by you, your family, society, teachers, or the media, then you also carry the responsibility to clean it and reprogram it. So let's begin. What are these unique mental tools? To understand them, we first need to look at other animals on Earth. Think about it. Animals can see, they can smell, taste, touch, hear, just like us. So what makes human beings different? What makes us capable of creating entire civilizations, building cities, creating airplanes, technology, art, dreams turned into reality? There are 6 unique mental faculties that separate us. 6 powerful tools: perception, imagination, will, memory, intuition, and reason. With these 6 tools that everyone possesses but very few intentionally use, we become capable of creating extraordinary results. Isn't that exciting? So let's explore them together. The first one is perception. Perception is our ability to see the same situation from different perspectives. If there's a problem in your life that you cannot solve, sometimes the problem isn't the situation itself. Sometimes it's the way you're looking at it. Change your perception, and the problem changes. There are many ways to observe the same event. Here's a powerful exercise. The next time you face a problem that feels impossible, write it on a piece of paper. Place it in the center of a table. Now slowly walk around that table. This is symbolic, yes, but also powerful. Stand on one side and ask, how would Bill Gates solve this? Walk around again. How would Jesus respond? Again, how would Buddha look at this? Different perspectives, material perspectives, spiritual perspectives, new lenses. And what happens? You begin activating perception, and often the answer suddenly appears, almost out of nowhere. But it wasn't nowhere, it came from you. The second mental faculty is imagination, and imagination may be one of the greatest powers you possess, because imagination has the power to take you anywhere. Think about this. Airplanes only exist because someone imagined flying. Cars exist because someone imagined movement. Everything created in the physical world first existed in someone's mind. Plato called this the world of ideas. If you can imagine something, you can begin creating it. But here's the problem. Most people use imagination against themselves. How? By constantly imagining the worst possible outcome. Be honest with yourself. How often do you replay worst case scenarios in your mind? How often do you mentally rehearse failure? Because every time you imagine something, you are creating a future mental screen. And if you can imagine disaster, you can also imagine possibility. You can imagine success. You can imagine healing. You can imagine abundance. So be careful with what you repeatedly imagine, because imagination is the first step toward creation. Now let's move to the third mental faculty, will. Will moves mountains. Imagine an Olympic athlete, a CEO, someone who achieved extraordinary success. What brought them there? Desire? Partially, but more than that, will. Imagination creates the possibility. Will sustains it. Will is the ability to hold an image in your mind and refuse to let distractions steal your focus. And meditation is a beautiful example of this. People talk about meditation all the time, but how many people can truly sit still and focus? Very few. Close your eyes for 5 minutes. Focus only on your breathing. Within seconds, your mind begins wandering. Problems, bills, memories, plans, fear, tomorrow, the past. That's normal. Will is like active meditation. You imagine a goal, and every time your attention drifts away, you bring yourself back. Again, and again, and again. No judgment, just focus, like training a muscle, because that's exactly what it is. A muscle. You don't build strength in one day, and you don't build mental strength in one day either. Will is a daily exercise. The fourth mental faculty, memory. Memory allows us to learn from experience. If a path repeatedly creates pain, why continue walking down that same road? Memory helps us learn. Memory says, I've been here before. That didn't work. Let's choose differently. If you want different results, you may need different roads. Simple. The fifth faculty, intuition. Intuition is vibrational perception. It's your ability to sense things beyond logic. Have you ever had a feeling you shouldn't go somewhere? You received the invitation. Logically, you wanted to go. But something inside whispered, don't. No explanation, just a feeling. Then you ignored it. You went anyway. And as soon as you arrived, something felt heavy, off, not aligned. That feeling, that was intuition. Intuition is your internal energetic GPS, a system installed within you from the day you were born, but very few people listen to it. And finally, reason. Reason is the ability to compare choices, to think, to analyze, to decide. Reason asks, which path serves me best? True intelligence isn't about memorizing facts. It isn't about degrees. Real intelligence is the ability to make good choices. Now think about this. You already possess all 6 of these tools. Everyone does. But very few people use them intentionally. And I wanted to introduce them before teaching you how to tune into prosperity. Because aligning with the energy of money is easy. Maintaining that frequency, that's where the work begins. You maintain it through perception, through imagination, through will, through memory, through intuition, and through reason. Perception helps you see new possibilities. Imagination creates positive futures. Will keeps you focused. Memory prevents repeated mistakes. Intuition guides you. Reason helps you choose wisely. What a powerful combination. Now, let's talk about tuning into the frequency of money, because I promised you a formula, and the formula is this: live according to the law. Live according to the law. What does that mean? It means if you want something, you must begin becoming it before possessing it. Not pretending, not faking wealth, not spending money you don't have. That's not what I mean. I mean becoming before having. If you want to become a successful entrepreneur, read what entrepreneurs read, study what they study, think the way they think, move the way they move. Within your own reality and possibilities, become aligned with the identity before the result arrives, because your external world eventually catches up with your internal state. Imagine someone whose dream is becoming a race car driver, but they have no money. What should they do? Live according to the law, watch races, attend events, enter that world, meet people, become part of the environment. Because opportunities grow from proximity. This isn't magic, it isn't luck, it's construction, step by step. I hear people say, I want financial freedom through digital marketing, but the market is saturated. Okay, but where are you? Are you attending events, studying, testing, learning, applying? Because if you truly want something, you must live according to the law. When you start a new job, everything feels unfamiliar at first. New environment, new energy. Eventually you adapt. Growth works exactly the same way. Nobody starts as president. You climb, you become. So if you want to align with prosperity, start thinking like someone prosperous. Learn from people already living what you desire. Model excellence. Because that is when your frequency begins shifting. But understand this, the moment you change frequencies, your inner world begins resisting. Your subconscious does not like change. It loves familiarity, comfort, predictability, and that's when self-sabotage begins. That's when your old beliefs fight back. And this is why you must consciously take control of your paradigm. You cannot live in constant doubt. You cannot say, I want it today, maybe not tomorrow. It's too hard. Now I want it again. That keeps you stuck. Tuning in is only the first step. The deeper work is reprogramming your mind, and eventually your beliefs begin matching your future. And one day you no longer chase the new identity, you become it. And before you go, I want you to remember something. You are not starting from nothing. You are starting from awareness, and awareness changes everything. The life you want isn't somewhere far away waiting for you. It begins inside you. One thought, one belief, one choice at a time. Thank you for being here with me today. Make sure to like this video, subscribe, and join our family, because we're growing and evolving together here.